Aloha. This is going to be hopefully a quick rant or more of a response to a video I just watched about flat earth friendship. I wanted to address this video because it will inherently address the entire flat earth community and the flat earth shill sort of talk that's going on, and the flat earth both sides to it, I guess. The arguments of the enemies. Basically, how I'm seeing it is there's like enemies being created, and like a team, like a community team that's going on. And I just wanted to address it, like from my perspective, and just leave it be because there's two sides to this, at least, that are very obvious, and I can see exactly, well, not exactly, just this is obviously just from my perspective, but I can see how these stories are being played and being it's just silly. It's really silly. And then when you think about how serious this stuff is, it's not silly at all. It's really like childish and distractive, and ultimately like the most jacked up thing you could be doing. I'm gonna come at it from this perspective because this is how I feel about this stuff, because I know I came at the flat earth into the flat earth storyline from going into the military, from living in growing up in the inner cities, not really having anything, going to schools where there was fights and shootings, and going into understanding like what was up with the government and 9/11 and all that stuff. Excuse me. When I was still in the military, I still had 2 years left in the army, and I had found out about 9/11 at that time, and that was really like a difficult time for me. And then I got out and jumped straight into the Occupy movement and went into understanding my connection with myself, my connection with my family and the planet and my existence as a whole, and understanding what the creative purpose is here, and the connection with the source, the Most High, and what all this stuff kind of means from a geometric perspective all the way up into a spiritual perspective, and how they all fit in all between at the same time. So later on, within 9 months ago, 10 months ago, is when I started to understand how those connections tie into the flat earth. And this is where I'm coming from when I'm addressing both the people who are talking about who are the shills, and then people who are defending themselves from people who are calling them shills. Now, I won't say that it's a miscommunication, but it's more of how I'm seeing it. It's more of people not listening to each other, and to the depths of how they can actually listen and see within themselves outside of the ego. Like this, the very fact that there is a flat earth community is fucked up. It's fucked up because you're not seeing that the storyline is way, way bigger than any kind of little. First of all, you're talking about flat earth on somebody else, on colonized land. First of all, there's one story that's out there. Another story, and this is to share like some of the points that are being missed. Why? Because people who are being put out there, like, and I'll mention Patricia Steer, the flat Earth and hot potatoes, and all the people that were in that video. That there was 7 people in that video, and I'm not saying either way. Everybody, how I see it, is just energy and sharing information. That's how I see it. I don't really give a shit about any individual. That's going into the ego side of it, which is the whole fucking distraction in the first place. So my main issue and the main point is that there were 7 people on there, and then David Weiss left and went down to 6. 6 people for 2 hours. Over an hour and a half of that shit was spent on defending themselves from some kind of somebody who said something about them or whatever. If you are just sharing information, if it's all about the information and about the people awakening, just and all this stuff that's being said, oh, it's about this and that. It's just about spreading the truth. That's the main issue that I see with like what Dan Pratt is referencing when he comes out and says, when he says that you guys are missing the whole point with just talking about this and not talking about like the government and coming and shutting everything down. It's not so much about what they're doing. It's what they're not doing. And what they're not doing makes it look like what they're doing has an intent and has a motive. And I can agree with that because it smells that way, it feels that way when there are so many issues that are connected to this flat earth information stream that are never being addressed, never tied in. And when you have a 2 hour get together with friendship and all happy, enlightened, kumbaya, like you said, if you only look at the light side of things and don't look at the dark side of things, you are already starting out on the wrong foot because you are being ignorant, willfully ignorant to what has led up to this situation and what could possibly be outside and the aftermath of this realization. That is a big, big issue. And when you are talking only about the science of the flat earth and only about NASA and only about this and that and not talking about how this flat earth, like what happened on the flat earth, the fact that the Native Americans aren't being referenced here, the fact that Leonard Peltier is still locked up because of the people who are still propagating this flat earth or this global agenda, created a system that locks up people who talk about so-called conspiracy theories, that talk about the real injustices of this earth plane that we live on. Like they're talking about, so that's what really kind of pissed me off, is that there's 2 hours and 7 people on a 2-hour show, and an hour and a half is spent defending individual egos. And even when they go into the Q&A of that 2-hour talk, the questions and the answers are chosen to further that defense mechanism of the ego itself. And that world, that the flat earth community world of it's all beautiful and light, even if they're separating themselves from the new age agenda, inherently the way it's being addressed is activating the same frequencies that are missing the entire point of what these so-called people who are going against the flat earth community and all that other stuff. See, when you create this idea of a community and all that stuff, you're only creating it because you're scared of being alone, because you're scared of being out there on your own and sharing information on your own. So you have to get together and there's strength in community and all that. Yeah, that's true. but there's a point where it maxes out if you're not going further into understanding what these people who are saying counter to your stories, and then just team up in this little community of flat earth and say, oh yeah, this is this is the good people and these are the bad people and this is what the bad people look like. I don't see Dan Pratt as being a bad person and all this stuff, but when you guys paint him, this community paints individuals like that counter these egos, it makes it jacked up. And then I'm sitting on the outside looking at this entire show go on and watching this and seeing that you're not talking about the political prisoners that are locked up on this flat plane and why they were locked up. You're not talking about the individuals that were shot on this flat plane who are talking about truth. So when you talk about people, that's what really got me, and that's why I'm making this video right now, is Patricia said something, oh, this is about spreading truth and only people who want to spread truth. How many other people were out before you were even born were talking about spreading truth? How many people were shot and killed were talking for spreading truth? How many other individuals have come before this little ego community of flat earth on this flat earth plane talking about truth? How many people that you never reference, that you never tie into this story, to this so-called community that you've created? This is this little 15 minutes of fame bullshit that has created this ego that just it stops people from going further. And this is why I'm making this video right now, is because you can see as proof the way you guys speak in this so-called flat earth community, the way you spend your time, the topics that you speak on, the way it's all put together. Like I said, you have a 2-hour show. You have all these subscribers. Combine all your subscribers, all the 7 people that were on that show, onto one video. And you guys all talk about defending your egos, defending what you said against what other people have said against you. An hour and a half. If you really go into it, you can go into like hour and 45 minutes spent on defending, instead of expanding the conversation about what's all entailed in this whole flat earth information stream. Like, it's not about you. It's not about the individuals. It's not about what each individual says. It's about this entire system itself. It's not just about NASA. It's not just about science. You're talking about blood. You're talking about the origins of creation. You're talking about like the earliest people here and what was before the globe theory got installed as a psychological chains on the wrists and the legs and the mind itself. The people that were here on this American soil before you were even a twinkle in your great grandmother's eye. Like, what was happening before all this stuff was a show, a hot potato show on the internet. And I'm only using this as a reference because that's kind of like her, it's like a gathering place for all these individuals who refer to themselves as the flat earth community. So I'm not going after anybody. I'm referencing the entire situation itself, because it is a very obvious situation. And when they try to talk about PSYOP and all this stuff, the PSYOP, if you're trying to say that it's not a PSYOP and all this other stuff, you're missing the point of how it is being seen as a psyop by not talking about all this other stuff. That is the actual psyop. That's the biggest psyop. When you're not talking about Assata Shakur and Leonard Peltier and all the political activists that have been locked up and forced off of their land, and all the people who've been shot and killed on this earth plane, and all the colonialism that led up to today and what's going on, and how that is the foundation to NASA, the foundation to the science university system and the evolution program, and the program of poverty and the destruction all over the world, and the starvation and the eugenics system that is out there. And when you're talking about all this kumbaya and all this stuff, it is inherently disrespectful to the stories that are on this earth plane. It is inherently a psyop when you are laughing and joking about one layer of consciousness, one level of perspective, and not addressing all the stuff that is, people are bleeding and dying right now. Just like Dan Press said, people are bleeding and dying, and I'm not defending or taking anybody's side here. The side is life. That's it. Like, if you're missing that point, then you're stuck in this distraction land. And that's my main point with the whole flat earth community itself. It is a giant, the psyop is distraction. If there is any psyop out there at all, it is being distracted from all of these stories connecting to this idea of a globe model and a flat earth. What happened on this earth plane? You're not just gonna it's not gonna be a light that is just flipped like a switch, and then you're just gonna, everything is gonna be okay once we realize all this stuff. No, you gotta talk about eugenics. You gotta talk about the sterilization of the black and brown peoples and what happened that was part of this globe theory, that was part of this psychological and physical control, the enslavement of the people and the enslavement of the minds. You have to address these issues. You can't just talk about this like it's just flat earth and the globe. It's not that. If you only speak of it from that perspective, then you are the psyop. You are the distraction. You are no different than the mainstream media that is talking about Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders and all this other shit to distract you from what's really going on the streets, what's really going on in the villages all over the world where people can't even get food and water. If you are talking about any of this flat earth stuff, and I'm referencing this community because there are people who have particular styles of how they speak on things. Like, they only speak about NASA or stuff like that. I'm not referencing that. I'm referencing this damn community, this flat earth friendship stuff that's out there, that is creating it's inherently creating a separation under the guise of being unified and being all fluffy and happy and love and heart and all that other stuff. That is the defense mechanism of that style of ego. There's wars that have been waged on this flat earth to defend the distractions of a globe model. These wars go back to the colonialism, go back to the nationalism, go back to the eugenics program, why people are being destroyed and sterilized. Today, still today, and you have a 2-hour show and you don't reference any of this stuff. You spend most of the time only talking about what somebody said about you. You're not talking about gentrification, which is just today's version of colonialism, and how all this stuff is going to be addressed or is not being addressed. Like these are the issues on why people speak out and don't really vibe with this whole kumbaya understanding of flat earth and hot potatoes and the flat earth community and movement, is because this is why you are being referenced as a PSYOP, because your actions and your inactions are explaining it as such. And because you are ignorant of the fact that you can be wrong by not looking at how all these other things are connected, that it's not only about love and light, you have to understand the darkness. If you do not understand that, then you will be subject to it. And by putting yourself out there as this community and this truth movement and all this other shit, you are only talking about, you are setting, the main thing is you're setting other people up. You're setting other people up because that's the most fucked up thing. You're setting people up to think and act only as far as you think and act. And that's why I referenced the Q&A stuff earlier, is because that is the perfect example of what your actions do to entire groups of people. Is when you spend an hour and 45 minutes defending yourself and only talking about ego and this and that, and then even go into the Q&A to use those questions to defend yourself and all this and that. When you do that, you make it look like that's the only stuff that exists out there. The very understanding of our existence, period, the science community. Like, you can spend an entire week talking about all this stuff that is involved in the flat earth. They see all this flat earth, the politics, and then flat earth. This is way later. I went in order here, like from Native Americans to the individuals that are locked up because they were speaking actual truth, speaking truth of the injustices of this system before the flat earth even came up. When you're talking about El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, and when you're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King and the Washita Moors and the pyramids and Assata Shakur and colonialism and poverty and eugenics and the war itself, the military-industrial complex itself, the gentrification program itself, and the prison industrial complex that is rampant within the cities itself. Then you start going into the sciences, because that's the fluffy shit. This is the cream. This is the cream on top of that self-destructive pie that goes back all the way to colonialism and all the stuff that's we are working with today. See, people who are only talking about the love and light and the heart and all this other stuff, and not talking, because they have a fear of letting go of the very system, the pillars that hold up this system. They can't go any further into understanding how possibly they could survive without what was given to them. This is a perfect example. This is just another way of seeing how people who don't understand white privilege they don't want to give up their privileges because they don't want to understand it, because they don't want to give up the privilege itself. That's how white privilege works. And this goes the same way with this whole only love and light and all this perspective, and not look at everything else and everybody else that has fallen victim to this system. Not to come from a victimized perspective, to come from an empowered perspective, but referencing the victims of this system. You're coming at these issues, this community is coming at these issues, if at all from an ignorant state of being, as if it's just gonna float away, as if people are just gonna like everything is just gonna be okay because you have been privileged your entire lives. You have been out. You haven't been in the streets. You don't understand eugenics and poverty and the colonialism. You don't have any connection to the Black Panthers and what was destroyed before this society was created today. That is the main issue with this whole one-sided approach in this fluffy, happy-go-lucky, flat earth community that is inherently the PSYOP. When you are overly distracted by fluffiness and you don't engage or even recognize the injustices of this, what is going on this earth plane, that is the PSYOP. Science, war, gentrification, which is just a war in the streets. Science is just a war for your mind. Politics, which is just a war for the community and for everything else. Then the flat earth shit starts to come up. Like way afterwards. Like after all these other things have been addressed. After all these people and these all exist before flat earth. It's not only about the flat earth. I think I pretty much hit on everything that I wanted to address. I just had to get that off of my chest because I'm not affiliated with any. None of them reached out to me for anything and for any kind of talks or anything. And I watched Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes in the beginning, and then I just got sidetracked because I'm not sidetracked, but I just lost interest because it was just that what I referenced as the PSYOP of distraction started to be obvious to me. I mean, I'm not saying that she or them are a PSYOP. It's the very nature of the whole community itself is. And I don't like using these labels at all. I don't remove all these labels. It's just I just use them to reference what they've been talking about, because that's what they have to defend themselves the entire time about is these kind of words. It's like balling up these issues into one version of reality, and so it can be only addressed or faced that way and you miss out on everything else. And that's what's been happening, leading up to today. The little people have been missed out. The people in Africa, the people in South America, all the people who have been colonized physically and the whole like aftermath stuff of revamping of the church and all that stuff. That this stuff doesn't even like. It doesn't even like equate. I'm reading all my little like a flat earth awakening kit. That's another main thing. Like that's like to prove my whole damn point. Like a flat earth awakening kit. That just goes to show you that they're only talking about that kind of one-sided version of reality. Yeah, the Q&A. Yeah. Her quote was, "Expose truth and help humanity." Alright, do it. Expose truth, further your truth, and help humanity. Stop bullshitting. That's all I got. Until next time, peace, love, and harmony.